We're going to talk about today, we're going to have a conversation about the Alma Digital product and the planned upgrade that we're going to be, that all of you are going to be enjoying very soon. The main topics that we're going to talk about today, the first one and the main one is the transition that all of you are going to be experiencing, all of you, assuming all of you are Alma Digital subscribers using it to a certain extent. What the transition is going to look like for all of you, what you're going to be getting as part of Alma Specto Essentials, what that means, what the process is going to look like, what the timelines are, and also how you can take part in this process if you want, of course. And then we're going to talk about the community voice, which is basically reviewing all of the high priority requests, or many of them, which have been coming through over the years, and seeing how many of them are being included as part of Alma Specto Essentials. As with all other products, the developments here are aligned with the requests and the needs of the community. So that's also going to be part of the discussion today. So for those of you who haven't met me, I am Daniel Greenberg. I am Director of Product Management within Digital Solutions. I was over the years involved in leading Alma Digital developments and Rosetta, which is a separate product, and now also involved with the Alma Specto developments, together with the management team who are also here panelists, led by Yaniv, with Shmuel leading the Alma Specto product, and Rel also in the product team. So good to see you all. I'm assuming that some of you are going to also be at Igloo next week, depending on which region you are and whether you're going to be traveling, of course. At Igloo, we're going to be talking about these slides again, but of course face-to-face, and that will be an opportunity to have a conversation. In general, we strongly encourage you to talk to us, to reach out to us, to understand not just in general what the process is going to look like, but also what it means for you, for your institution. If you have any thoughts, concerns, or anything else, then we have an open door policy. Come and talk to us, and certainly at Igloo if you're going to be there face to face. So actually, the first lessons learned from the first session is to hide the sharing panel at the bottom there. So the subtitle here is the first leap to the digital future, because that's exactly what we're doing. We're taking the digital asset management that you have today in Alma Digital, and we're really taking it a leap forward over to Alma Specto Essentials. And this is part of really a major project which is being run at Clarivate with Alma Specto, which is putting a huge focus on digital content management. This is, of course, following the trends that we are seeing of growing special collections of our customers, of our institutions, and therefore we are following up on these trends and putting a big focus, and also under the realization that there are many, first of all, high expectations from the end users to get cutting edge experiences for discovering digital content. And also there are many technologies out there which can better serve digital content. And therefore we want to, of course, be part of that and lead these trends. So the starting point is Alma Digital, which you all have, using it, of course, for different types of materials, different types of collections. Some of you are using it for digitized books, others for born digital material, audio, visual, textual, and that's really one of the characteristics of Alma Digital, in that it serves a huge range of different file formats, but also workflows and use cases. So all the Alma Digital customers are going to be transitioned over to Alma Specto Essentials. Now, I'll say before I go into the three main focus areas of Alma Specto Essentials, is that I mentioned that Clarivate is putting a huge focus on digital asset management in the next couple of years. And of course, the idea is that the existing community of Alma Digital are going to benefit from all of these developments. So it's not just for whoever pays extra or purchases an additional product of the full Alma Specto. A lot of the features, a lot of advancements are going to serve the existing Alma Digital community without the need to do any additional work. And we'll talk about some details later on of what that transition would look like, or what is required on your side and I'll just hint that it's not a lot which will be required on your side in order to benefit from it. So just to understand the context, so those who will purchase Alma Specto, the full Alma Specto, or will upgrade from Alma Specto Essentials to Alma Specto, they will then receive additional features, additional workflows, which are based on Gen AI, Exhibition Builder, and optionally, another optional add-on is digital preservation. So that's not what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to talk today about what you as a community will get if you are not yet ready to upgrade to the full Alma Specto, and you're going to be upgraded to Alma Specto Essentials. That's the focus today, but just so you understand what the business model looks like for the customers who do purchase Alma Specto. So they will have everything that you will have in Alma Specto Essentials plus additional features. So we'll dive in. So before I dive in, I'll say the three main focus areas of Alma Specto Essentials. So the first area is, of course, discovery. At the end of the day, all of the work that you are investing in your special collections, and whether it's theses, dissertations, or digitized books and so on, at the end, you want to serve it and you want to provide it to some sort of audience, which could be the general public, or it could be patron students of a specific course. Whatever it is, you want to provide them at the end with the optimal end user experience and align with their expectations from the different search engines. And of course, today they have LLMs and so on, for as ChatGPT and so on. They have very high expectations on how to consume digital content. And therefore, that's really one of the big focuses, if not the most major focus in Alma Specto Essentials, is on the discovery of the digital content. And I'll be showing a lot of that in screenshots. The second is, of course, the backend. And in the management of digital content, there are many unique aspects of managing digital content which are different than the more traditional print content or electronic content. Since the digital content belongs to the institutions, they are then responsible for many times, well, all the time, basically, for cataloging the content, describing it since it's unique collections and not necessarily cataloged somewhere else. So we're going to be talking about the streamlined backend workflows, which we've added for making it much more easy and accessible to catalog, to edit, to manage your data in the backend. And then specifically, we will talk about the text management. So I know that many of you have non-text files, such as images, audio, videos, so on. And I'll also mention what we're going to be providing in those areas. But since there's some exciting stuff coming specifically around text management for text files, which could be scanned documents or born digital text documents, then that is also, I'm going to be focusing on some of the features which you're going to be getting once you upgrade to Alma Specto Essentials. So this is a bit of a shopping list of more details on those three focus areas. So I'm going to, most of these are I have visuals, so I'll actually dive into them in the next slides and show them to you of what it would look like. Some of them are less visual, therefore I'll just briefly describe them now and just do a brief overview of what this functionality is. And I think what you can already see, there's a huge amount of developments here, which you're going to be receiving very soon. As you can see here, H1, first half of 2026. I'll later on talk about a more detailed rollout plan of what's going to happen when. But I think you can already see that, compared to the standard development cycle of any product, and specifically also the digital products, this is a lot. And I think many of you in your different areas will be able to look at some of these features and say, hey, that's a big upgrade to our workflows today for our patrons. And I'm sure you all will be able to manage some exciting news here in this long list of features. So in the digital data management, starting from the back end, what we're first going to be doing is making some order in the digital management. And you all have, you're managing your digital content aside with other types of content with your electronic and print. However, as you know, today, the digital actions, menus, configurations, they are pretty much spread out. However, as we know from the customers, usually the content, the collection curators, or the digital catalogers, they usually want to have a dedicated area and a clear location, centralized location, where they can run all their actions and workflows which are related to the digital special collections. And therefore, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be gathering all of those different menus and configurations around the system, centralizing them into a single menu of digital asset management, which is similar in concept to what you have today with discovery, for example, or analytics. And therefore, if you have a cataloger who wants to now work on special collections, on digital collections, they know where to go. They have a single location. They go in there, find the action which they want to do, and they don't have to start searching in between hundreds of different other menus and actions of the entire Alma. So that's really creating some order. And just to put your mind at rest, we're not going to be compromising at all on any of the benefits of the fact that it's a unified resource management solution. So the fact that you can catalog all of the different types of inventory under a single title, you can publish, create sets which are uniform, regardless of what the type of content is, electronic, print, or digital. That is going to continue. This is only making some order, creating some order in managing of your digital collections. In addition, we're going to be introducing, I'm skipping a few which I'm just going to show in the actual slides. But as you know, we've recently introduced, after several years of developments, the next-gen concepts of title searches, which provide you with a side-by-side display of title search together with actions, metadata, and so on the right-hand side of the title which you select. We're going to be providing the same or delivering the same also for digital file search. So you'll be able to have a very nice experience, an advanced experience of digital file search, where you'll be able to select a file. It will open side by side, right-hand side of the selected file. So in a single view, you can have both the file list and the details of the one which you're currently highlighting. In addition, we're going to be working on a quick editor for Dublin Core, and also eventually also with Mark. It's going to be rolled out probably around the same time. And here the idea is that many times, specifically with digital special collections, the staff, the person who is managing and describing the content isn't necessarily an expert in Mark or in Dublin Core. And therefore, we want to provide a much more simplified form-based editor, a quick editor, which will be there in addition to the metadata editor, and will allow quick edits without having to be familiar with the different fields of Dublin Core or of Mark. So more to come on that. Digital discovery, all of that is visual, therefore you'll see those in the slides, which is of course more interesting than just reading out from a list. Only the one at the end here is that we're going to be working also on an improved SEO, search engine optimization, which in the end is going to the customers, the users who are used to searching their content for their digital content or in external search engines. We're going to be making your content, your collections more accessible there, Google and so on. So in addition to making your local search or your local repository search more attractive, we're also pulling out our data over to the external search engines to allow those different paradigms of searching for content. And the last is the digital text management, which I'm going to be showing you what you're going to be receiving. So starting with digital data management. So first of all, we'll start with the nice, which isn't a new functional change. It's just making life much easier when you are working with lists of digital content. So we're going to be introducing a gallery view, which you can see here. And the idea is that many times when you are searching for content, the interesting aspect of the title isn't so much the metadata, but it's the actual content of the file. And if it's an image or if it's a textual PDF, for example, then sometimes looking at what that file is, what the content is, that is what you need in order to determine, yes, this is a title that I want to dive into, make changes or whatever, rather than pieces of metadata. And therefore, we're adding, in addition to the existing list view, and there's also going to be a table view, you're also going to have a gallery view, which will show the thumbnail in large, and you'll be able to see that. And this is going to work, by the way, following up on a question which came in the earlier session, it's going to work also for any title which has a a thumbnail. So that could be also a remote repository. It doesn't necessarily have to be for a local representation, which is in Alma Digital. This what you can see here should give you a general idea of what this would look like. You can see there's a control slide at the top, which allows you to determine how many thumbnails you can see in your gallery view. You can enlarge it, increase the number or decrease the number. So that is the gallery view which we're going to be introducing. In addition, what you can see here on the right-hand side is the actual viewer. So the idea is that the right-hand side concept, those of you who have already researched and have been using the next-gen title search, you know that there is a right-hand side, right, which allows you to then dive into the details of a single title, but still having the context or the list which you search for on the left-hand side. So with the digital content, with the first section of the right-hand side is the actual viewer. And we'll soon talk about what that viewer actually is. It's a new and advanced viewer. But we're going to be showing you the content. It's not a thumbnail, it's the full resolution of the image file. If it's in a video file, you can watch the video here in the back end. So you don't need to, as you had to do till now, open the viewer in a separate tab. You can see it here, which is super important when you want to make decisions. You want to make learner decisions on whether a change should be made. If this really is the right content which you're looking into, you want to navigate through the different files of a specific record. You can do all of that in the same page, in that context of that page, without having to flip between different tabs or windows. So that is one big change related to the viewer, which should really upgrade your experience as catalogers in the backend. The second big change, which is related to the viewer in the backend, is in the metadata editor. And here, you are used to, when you catalog, for example, a print book. You have a book in front of you. You want to make sure that you are writing the correct information. You're typing in the correct author name, the years, and so on. And all of this information, which is are taken for granted with a print book or a journal, printed journal. But with digital content, of course, you need to have the file in front of you. Whether it's a video, textual file, or picture, image, as you can see here, in order to make sure that you are making the right decisions when you're cataloging the data. And therefore here, this too will make your cataloging experience much more streamlined and much more correct, right? So much more error-proof. And again, you won't have to skip between different tabs or between different windows. In a single page, you can catalog and look at the actual file or files of that record. The next big change that we're introducing in the backend is the ability to do bulk add metadata in an easy way. Now, this is functionality which has always existed, right? But let me describe to you what you had to do till now, which of course all of you know. If you want to, for example, you have a collection of titles and you want to make a bulk change on the entire collection. For example, it's the same photographer who took all of the photos in the specific collection, or the publication date is the same publication for the entire collection. And this is a very common case, a use case which you've been hearing from customers over the years. And you want an easy way to update that piece of metadata on all of that collection, or a subset of that collection. So till today, what you had to do is you had to first of all create a normalization rule, which makes that change either in Mark or Dublin Core. And once you have that normalization rule, you have to create a set. Once you have a set, you then have to run a job based on that normalization rule, which will then update all of those titles. And also, of course, running that job is outside of the context of the actual title list which you have. So in the end, you'll get a good result, but you had to go through around 5 different stages, which shift you also out of the context of where you were. So what we're introducing, and we actually saw it, has been developed last week, and we saw it, and it's looking great. From the list itself, you're going to have one click of running a job, and here you can either select all of the titles so that the metadata is going to be added to all of the titles which you see, or you can just simply click and select a subset of the titles which you can see. And then once you select the job, what you have is without creating normalization rules ahead of time, you have a very simple list of key and values where you can insert which mark field you want to add, what are the indicators, and then in the field value, you can put in the actual values, if it could be multiple subfields. A parallel one will be created also for doubling core. You can update multiple fields as part of a single job. And then basically with 2 clicks, you can save all of those 5 different stages and many clicks, which is what you had to do till now. So this is a new job which has been introduced. You'll be able to run it from different locations in the system, either from the list, the general repository search, or from inside a collection. In both options, you'll be able to very easily make that change. So now that we're done with the major advancements, there are several others, but these are really the major advancements in the backend, which is really for the benefit of the staff. We're now going to move over to the advancements that we are providing to the end users. So as you all know, there is the major project called NDE, the Next Discovery Experience, which has been worked on. And one of the big news about NDE is the focus that we are putting and the NDE team are putting on specifically discovering digital content. The idea here is that with Alma Specto and Alma Specto Essentials specifically, we are looking at it in a much more holistic way in the back end and the front end. Because again, in the end, all the work that you're doing, all the hard work that you're doing to curate the content, extract full text, and so on, all of that in the end is coming to serve the end user, whoever wants to consume your data. And therefore, we are looking at it as an end-to-end workflow, a single solution, rather than 2 different solutions of the back end and the front end. So a lot of the work which is being done in NDE is around how to discover, how to deliver digital content to the end users. And with digital content, as I mentioned earlier, there's also high expectations from the end users, right? They have platforms today, Google Photos and all the social media, where they have a lot of advanced services for, and YouTube, of course, for consuming digital content, videos, images, textual files, and so on. So we, on one hand, we want to align with the cutting edge technologies. That is one big motivation. And the other is that really digital content does provide us with the capability to serve it in a much better way. I think in the professional world, it's called a transformative use. When you've got digital content, you can provide audio-visual aids to the end users. You can zoom in and out. You can index the full text, a lot of stuff which you can't do for a print book. And therefore, we want to take all of those additional benefits which digital content has, and we want the end users to enjoy them. So the first one is the full record view, which will exist for all titles in NDE. But if the title has digital content, then we're going to be displaying a full viewer as part of the full record page. And here the idea is that we want to provide the end user with a single page with all of the data that they need, and so that they don't have to now start clicking and opening the viewer in another tab or in another window. They can take a look at the single page, and there they will have, first of all, and most importantly, the data itself. If it's a textual file, they have everything they need in the size that they need to read a full journal or an article, but also have all the additional services of Primo NDE, of exporting, of linking out to external systems and additional information about linked data and people who appear in this book, for example, and authority pages and so on. So all of that will be there in the same page, but providing a very clean user experience where they can consume the content and link out to other services. What you can also see here in a small glimpse at the bottom of the page is a map. We're also going to be working on a map, which is just another nice way, an attractive way for the user, for example, to see some locations which are mentioned in a book, places which are mentioned, which appear in an image, for example. They can appear in a map, so they can get also a geospatial context for whichever content they're looking at. So one of the most interesting topics, I think, for many of you is going to be the changes which are being done to the collection lobby. So I'm assuming that all of you have a collection lobby and manage their digital content in some sort of collection hierarchy. And there have been many requests coming through over the last years about how users or how institutions would like to improve the collection lobby, which is discovered by the end users. And here the assumption is that in many cases for the end users, the collection lobby is the landing page or the entry point for them into the digital collections, right? So rather than going and searching in the general search of Primo, then this is many times the lobby into which they go in and not only navigate, but also search, not only browse, but also search for digital content. And many times the institutions say, we actually rather direct the users into this area, and we don't want them necessarily to start going off and looking for other scopes and other content in the library. So therefore, that was in a way the philosophy behind the changes done here. We want to make this area much more autonomous, provide much more capabilities for browsing and searching the data inside the collection hierarchy, starting with the ability to search for content from any given point in the collection hierarchy and down. So till now, users in Primo VE, they could search, but only in a single level of the collection hierarchy. And now the search will be from a single level and down. So if you have a tree where you have, for example, an hierarchy of a journal, issue, and articles, if you search on the journal level, you'll get all the results of including all the articles under that level and all the levels on that branch, on that tree, under that point. And I think this should be some big news for a lot of you. Most of the customers who I told them about this, they had a big sigh of relief. So that's going to be coming out very soon. And we'll talk about the timeline soon. The second one is once the user get the results, then we're going to be providing facets so that they can then filter the results according to the different facets that we're going to be providing. And again, this is allowing them to completely displace their search or the discovery experience from what they used to have to do on the general search. Now they can do it here because they can also have a more focused search experience. And the idea is that with minimal clicks, they will reach the point from where they know what they're looking for until they actually get the actual title. So we're going to be adding facets, and these are facets which are dynamic. In other words, they're relevant only for this list. We won't be showing any facets which aren't relevant for this content. And users will very easily be able to filter down, what they're seeing from their search in this collection. In addition, as part of the title list that users are going to will be seeing for a given collection, there will be a load more items at the bottom. And here also we come across many customers who have very large collections. Sometimes they could have a single collection. For example, an issue of a journal, which has hundreds of articles under it. And therefore, it's very important here to provide a seamless experience for navigating between the hundreds of titles with good performance and good usability. And that is also one of the big focus areas of the load more items, which we're going to be providing as part of NDE. So those are the highlights of advancements which we're going to be seeing as part of the NDE for digital collections. Of course, that is part of the general NDE project, but as I said, there is a big focus there on digital content. And you're all going to be able to take a look at those and play around with them in your sandboxes before you actually pull them into your production. So we'll now just the last focus area which I'll talk about is the digital text management, which we do know is really one of the most common content types which institutions have in their special collections, whether it's born digital or scanned material. And the first is a big improvement to the OCR management. So today, the existing functionality today is we have a tool called Tesseract, which is managed and maintained by Google. And it produces, again, today in Alma Digital, a plain text. So you get the actual text from which the system identified in your content, in your files. And then we know how to index that in Primo for full text indexing. So the end user will search for a search term which appears inside the actual full text and not just in the metadata, then this title will be returned as part of the results. So we're going to be improving that so that the OCR tool will also be producing what's called alto format, not just plain text, but also alto. And without going into technical details, I'll just say that alto is an XML representation of the full text, which includes coordinates of all the words in the page, in the file. And what that allows is that when we then display the file to the end user and they search for a specific word in the viewer, the system will be able to highlight all the instances of that word. And the system can do that because of that alto file, which is a known format, which allows the system to really say, exactly where that word is in the content. So the general experience is going to be what you could see here. And the viewer, which which we are using, is called Mirador. Mirador, for those of you who are familiar, is a viewer which is based on IIIF, which is a framework designed for rendering high-resolution images in a very efficient way, but not just images. It can render also other types of files, audio, video, PDF files, and so on. One of the services which it provides is, aside from highlighting the full text, which I just mentioned, is also on the left side. When you search for a specific word or a phrase, it will give you the context on the left-hand side of all of the instances of all the appearances of that word or of that phrase in the entire document. So Mirador is a very commonly used service in the academic industry, but not only. It's an open source viewer, which is also expandable very easily. So it's plugin based, which allows us as Clarivate to expand it to add different services. So we can design the different components differently. We can add a service for sharing different resolutions of the image or downloading different resolutions of the image. So there are many different services which can be provided through these plugins, which will allow us also over time to add functionality to the existing viewer. The Mirador, the main motivation or objective from our side is that you will be able to serve the vast majority of your content via a single or unified viewer to your end users, so that they have a similar user experience, regardless of whether it's a PDF file, image file, audiovisual. They will have a similar viewer, and which will be less confusing for your end users. So another feature which is coming as part of that is that you have, for your digital content, you will have a minimized view, but then also you can enlarge it. And those of you who have experience with Alma Digital today, when you open full screen of an image or of a textual file, you lose the ability to do different controls such as search, share, download. And here, as part of the developments that we're doing, then in the full screen view, you'll be able to continue running these services. So also when you're reading the actual text and you're diving into the actual content of the file, you'll still be able to run those actions and not just on the minimized view. So one more functionality before I sort of summarize and talk about the timeline of the functionality. Is that the full text is indexed for full text search, right? So apart from the ability to search inside a specific record, you can also search for the full text in Primo and NDE, and it will return results if your search term is included in the actual content of the file. Until now, there was a limit in Primo of up to indexing of 10,000 words for a given title, which in many cases wasn't enough. And therefore, that's going to be enlarged significantly. So many more words will be indexed for every given title. And therefore, so if the end user will search for something which is in a much later section of a book, for example, a digitized book or journal, then it will still turn up in the results. So listening to the community. So I just described everything, all the highlights that we're going to be seeing as part of Alma Specto Essentials, and all of you will benefit from. But just to connect it to what the community has been asking for over the years. These are selection of some of the high priority requests which we've been receiving from the community. And also the steering committee of Alma Digital has done a lot of hard work in gathering some of the high priority issues. And as you can see, many of them, most of them, are going to be covered as part of Alma Specto Essentials, rolled out soon. And I think again, this is a very large amount of developments in the given time frame of the development of the last year, a year and a half, certainly compared to the standard development cycle. So the waiting for Alma Specto Essentials is certainly going to be worth it for all of you. So you can see here that first of all, one of the requests is unrelated to what we saw today. It's related more to controlled digital lending, and there too we've had some advancements, and we're going to be continuing working on CDL and controlled digital lending in the next year. So it's material for a completely different session, CDL. So I won't be going into it. But if any of you want to hear more about what we have as part of controlled digital lending and the waitlist, which we provide for a given resource, please reach out. I'll send you material that we have a lot of recorded material, and also we can get in have a talk about it. Planned for Q4 2025, which is the first big rollout of Alma Specto. Then it's everything which I think you saw today. I showed you in the previous slides. So all of those these are basically requests that came through from the customers. And therefore, what we're providing as part of the first drop is completely aligned with what we've been hearing from the community. Several other advancements have been requested from the community, and they're going to be coming. They are part of the roadmap, so we are certainly aware of them. One of them is the ability to withdraw digital representations based on the representation ID or file IDs, and that's going to be coming through later on in 2026. And also the ability to reorder files in a given representation after ingesting into the system. So that too is something which we are looking into as part of either using structural maps and so on. So there's also, apart from coming out with a nice big solution, there's also going to be a rich roadmap, which is going to take your requests into consideration. So let's talk timing. So first of all, from the roadmap, this is just listing out all the functionality that we saw today and splitting it into the different releases. And it's not completely tentative. We're pretty sure that this is what's going to happen. It could be that there's going to be slight movements from here to there, but end of 25, we're already going to be seeing as part of NDE all of the stuff that we saw there with hit highlight search, and also the collection. Management improvements, that's also going to be part of Q4, the new viewer, the Mirador viewer, and so on. And then all of the backend changes, the reordering of the menus, the new gallery view, the improvement in the Alto generator, and the bulk add metadata, that's going to be part of May 20th, 2026 release. And then in November, we're going to see some additional functionality, such as the form-based editor for Dublin Core and Mark, and the cataloging side by side with the new view, which we saw earlier on, and the next-gen file search. That is also going to be coming out in 26 and beyond, and anything else which comes as part of the Alma Digital community. In case you haven't noticed the emails, there is now a dedicated forum for Alma Digital, which is going to be renamed to Specto, so that you now have your focused area and your focused priorities. So it's not now prioritized in relative to Alma. It gets its own priorities, which I think is very good news. That's something also which the steering committee pushed for, and it was a great initiative. So that's already there. We're just waiting to finalize the actual logo, but you can already submit ideas into the Alma Digital forum and ideas exchange. So let's talk about the transition, because I think this is one area which many institutions had some concerns or about what it means, what type of effort you'll have to invest into. So here I think there's good news for you. First of all, we're introducing major upgrades in the features, but with complete continuity of all your existing workflows and functionality. So if you're used to cataloging one way, if you're used to using a specific service for OCR and so on, you can continue doing that. Of course, importing content from different flows, you don't have to touch those workflows. We're not going to touch those workflows. You can continue as is. So all of the stuff that we saw today is in addition to what you've been doing today. Okay, so it's up to you if and when you want to start implementing those additional features. Now, because of that, there is no migration required, which is the second point here. We're not touching your data unless you want to. For example, if you want to run the improved OCR tool and so on, but we certainly don't need to migrate your data from. You're not changing a system. You're continuing as is with the data that you had till now. So that's really significantly simplifying this upgrade. So it's really like a major upgrade of your existing system. Now, since there are, of course, give or take 700 Alma Digital users today, we're not going to be doing one-on-one webinars, and we also assume that there's no need for one-on-one webinars. Most of the all of the features, they really talk for themselves, but we are going to be providing webinars about the functionality that we saw today, and we're going to do multiple for the different regions to really make sure that you all understand what you're getting and how you can use them for your own collections. Now, all the functionality that we saw today, which was related to discovery, that is strongly coupled, of course, with the NDE project, which means that when you migrate over from Primo VE or whichever discovery system you have over to NDE, then you will automatically have all of the digital features which we saw before. They will be available for you. So that is also making the usage of the digital discovery much easier for you. It's not a separate project. It's really part of that transition over to NDE. So to summarize, what you can see here on the left, effortless upgrade, powerful results. It's not just a slogan. It's a good slogan. But really that's our intention. It's also an operational point from our point of view. We can't do a complex upgrade for 700 institutions. It's going to be seamless. It's going to be easy for you to upgrade, and it will also be up to you if and when you start using each one of these functionalities in the system. So just to finish off before I open it up for questions. So that was the roadmap and the timeline of when the features are going to be rolled out. And now let's talk about what the process looks like. And if and how you can be involved in this process. So already in Q4 of 2025, which is relatively soon, we're going to be starting the early access program, where we want a set of institutions where we don't know exactly yet how many institutions, give or take 10, who will need to register, right? And of course, express their interest in being part of this program. And I think it's going to be an excellent opportunity for institutions to have early access to all of what we saw today, provide feedback and have some impact so that we can make, of course, some last minute changes before it's rolled out to the entire community. So that's the first stage in Q4, which is soon. The moment it's going to become practical, so when we actually have a registration form and so on, you're going to know about it. In fact, already at Igloo, we're going to allow institutions to start approaching us. So I encourage those of you who want to be part of it to really reach out to us when that does become available. And as you understood, the upgrade to Alma Specto Essentials doesn't include any additional costs or any changes to your existing contract or your subscription, and therefore, this is only for your benefit, your ability to be part of this process. The next phase is in May 2026. That is when all of the functionality is going to be available for all customers, but they will need to opt in to those features. Okay, so this is a gradual rollout, which you should be familiar with from other major advancements that we've done in the past, such as the new NDE and so on. So you will have the option in the UI to opt in and see, what the new layout looks like, and provide us feedback. Of course, you'll be able to opt in only in your sandbox. And only later on, if you want, on your production environment. In August, it's going to become opt-out. In other words, by default, we're going to enable all of this functionality for all the customers. However, if for any reason a customer wants to revert back to the previous one and provide us feedback to fix something or whichever reason they might have, then they will be able to opt out of those features. We don't believe there's going to be a big necessity for opting out, since all of these, what we showed today, are in addition to your existing workflows. However, we still want to allow you to have that flexibility. In November 2026, we're basically going to phase out the legacy workflows, and at that point, you will have you'll have all the new functionality. There's not going to be any more opt-in or opt-out. That's going to be the default and the main workflows, the only workflows for managing digital content. Now, all the discovery features with NDE, that is tied to whichever process the NDE is going to do. So NDE rollout is also going to have those levels of precautions where you'll be able to opt in, opt out, and so on. And will include also the digital aspects of NDE. So there too, you'll have control over whether you want different functionality and when. So that's it from my side. I hope this made things much clearer for you. I know there were a lot of questions coming through of institutions who were, obviously this wasn't communicated fully and sometimes, and that was really the purpose of this presentation. So I really do hope you're coming out at the end of this with a bit more or much more understanding of what's expected for you. And really the main message here is that you won't have to do anything proactive in order for this to happen. It's going to be in addition to what you're doing today, and most importantly, you have a lot to benefit from all these features which are going to be coming out. So I'm going to stop sharing, and we left, I think, 10 minutes for questions.
So Daniel, would you like me to read out a couple of questions? We have a few repeats, so maybe I'll just aggregate them to single questions. So one thing that was asked a couple of times is about the enrichment metadata job, and whether it's going to be available only as part of Specto Essentials or for all of the titles in general in Alma.
So I think whatever you saw today, that is going to be available for the Alma Specto Essentials. If there is a functionality which you heard about in a Alma Specto session and a separate webinar, which I didn't talk about today, then it won't be included in the Alma Specto Essentials. Specifically, anything to do with AI will be a part of Alma, or the full Alma Specto, and not as part of Alma Specto Essentials. The main reason, by the way, is that any AI services includes high costs of processing, and therefore is included as part of an upgrade and can't be provided from our point of view of operational costs as part of the Alma Specto Essentials. The closest that we're providing to enrichment is the bulk add metadata, which you saw earlier on, and that will be available for all of you.
Thank you. Another question that came up a lot is the distinction between Primo VE and Primo NDE, and what services will be available for the different statuses that people are going to have for their Primos.
Okay, so if we're talking about specifically on digital, I'm not going to talk about in general the differences between Primo VE and Primo NDE. For that, I'm sure there are many other sessions which are being provided by the Primo team. From the digital side, then, of course, if you have NDE and you don't have Primo VE, then you're going to have the improved collection management, all of the functionality, basically all the functionality which I showed today in the discovery is going to be available in NDE and not in VE. So VE, if you continue using VE, Primo will continue behaving as you do today, as you have today for your digital content, where you have the links to the different viewers, which open up a separate tab. You do have the quick access there. You have the collection lobby the way it is today, but everything that we saw today with collection searching and the Mirador and so on, all of that will be available only in NDE.
Thank you. We have a question. Will the OCR algorithm be something other than Tesseract? How well do you think they will perform with page segmentation, like understanding flows and texts and articles in print newspapers?
That's an excellent question. We are most probably going to be upgrading to the latest Tesseract, and which also can produce Alto. The big benefits of Tesseract, and I can see that relates to another question here, is that it covers a huge amount of languages. Handwritten very much depends. I saw that also in another question. Handwritten very much depends on the structure of the handwritten. The expertise there for Tesseract is less on handwritten, so I'm not expecting to see a major upgrade with the capabilities there, but more really with well-formed fonts. And maybe just a reminder that you can still run your own OCR tool. If you have a trained OCR tool outside of the system, you can run that on your files and then ingest into the system the files with the OCR which you already produced in case you're using Transcribe or any other tool, and the system will know how to work with that too, with your custom OCR. So you will always have that capability. Regarding structured pages, so yes, it works well with structured pages, but of course it's a case by case. And I think what would be good is if you have examples which don't work for you today in Alma Digital with Tesseract, then first of all let me know, just so I can run some research. But we would need to see specific examples, of course.
Okay. We have a question about FedRAMP environments and whether that rollout will be delayed or alongside everything else.
So that's another good question. FedRAMP has been worked on, of course, as well, you might not know, but there's a lot of bureaucracy and around achieving FedRAMP. We're working on it, and we're at a very advanced stage. So we are going to communicate to you the moment we achieve FedRAMP for Alma Specto. So yes, that is going to happen.
We have a question about Alma Analytics for digital files and if there'll be any upgrades in that regard.
So at stage one, from Alma Specto Essentials point of view, then we're going to continue using what we have today. And just to remind you, because we have a vast range of analytics which can be run on digital content. We have 3 different subject areas for digital content. One is the repository subject area, where you can create actionable insights into the actual repository, which formats you have of sizes and so on, and collections. You have also the usage subject area, where you can see, for example, how often a collection has been accessed in the last month, how much content was downloaded from a given collection over a specific time span. And the third one is a waitlist subject area, which is specifically for controlled digital lending. So we are going to be adding analytics for the full Alma Specto, for the Gen AI work that we're going to be doing, and for the exhibition builder. But for Alma Specto Essential, for now, we're going to be continuing with what we have. I'll be very happy to hear if there's anything specific which you would like to expand the existing analytics with.
So there's a request for a little more clarification about that bulk add metadata feature, and whether it'll be available in the metadata editor for other non-digital titles. And people just saying how helpful that would be if it is.
Okay. So yes, we're starting off. We're doing it sort of a gradual rollout because of the character, because it's first of all tied to the collection management of digital. But you are right in that there's no reason that the add metadata won't be available for all content, regardless of what the inventory is. So the answer is simply yes. We're already working with the general Alma team to open this job up to any type of content. It's not going to be, you're not going to be able to run it out of the metadata editor. The idea is that you can run it from a list, from a search list, so in a bulk way, rather than in a singular metadata editor, because once, of course, you're inside the metadata editor, then you can add a field for that specific one. So the short answer is yes, it's going to be expanded to the entire Alma.
Another clarification question about the viewer. And whether that means that there'll no longer be the 3 current viewers available for NDE.
So the idea is that we want to eventually retire the need to use 3 different viewers. From our point of view, that's something which we do not see as ideal for the end users, in that they get a different user experience and depending on what content it is. And therefore, and that's the reason why we selected Mirador. We're going to be expanding Mirador in a way that it provides all the functionality which you get today from all those 3 different viewers. And in that way, you'll be able to provide a uniform experience to your end users. So, for example, the Internet Archive book reader, it gives you a book reading experience and supports full text search and highlight. So we're going to be providing all of that as part of Mirador. Universal Viewer, of course, runs on IIIF and can deliver PDF files, audiovisual, and runs on IIIF. Mirador does the same, and in many aspects does it even better. Our own Alma Viewer or digital viewer can deliver a very wide range of formats, such as EPUB, Office documents, and so on. Also, that eventually is going to be folded into that single viewer So yes, the idea is that we want to provide a single uniform experience, but can provide with all of that functionality which you're used to receiving from different viewers. That is a strategy, and when we discuss this with the early access institutions who will join us, we'll be very happy to hear what your thoughts are on that. And actually, if you already have some thoughts or concerns about that approach, I'll be very happy if you can send me an email in person.
That's a great lead into another question that came in a little bit about the early access process and what that's going to look like, whether it would be in the sandbox or a replacement of the Alma D instance in production.
So good question. It's either going to be a clone or it's going to be in your sandbox environment. In any case, we're not going to be touching your production environment, as part of the early access phase. So I don't want to commit to anything to guarantee anything now. When we will publish it, we'll also explain, what it's going to look like, the process.
Okay, we do have some interest in the digital preservation aspect of that. So maybe we can just introduce a little bit about what our plans are for the digital preservation piece.
So digital preservation is an add-on to the full Alma Specto. So it does require for you to be subscribed to the full Alma Specto, and above that you can add preservation, which is optional for additional cost. And the preservation component, what it does is identifies files at risk, corrupted files. It provides different migration paths. You can convert your files from one format to another if they're at risk, or if you in general just want to migrate the formats of your institution. It gives you technical details about all your files, and a job for auto-generating derivative copies. So a lot of stuff is part of the preservation, which is an optional add-on to the full Alma Specto. So you can't expand Alma Specto Essentials just with preservation. You need to get the whole bundle. And feel free to reach out if you want some more details.
Yeah, and I believe that we do have some sessions planned throughout next year to introduce that in a little more detail. All right. We do have, so I think you covered this about the OCR languages.
Yes.
What language is okay.
We're running out of time, so maybe one more question.
All right, I think I'm hoping that we covered almost everything. I did try to batch as many questions together as possible so that we could hit a lot of the different topics here. But yeah, Daniel, if you want to just,
Yeah, we'll take a look at the remaining questions and we'll send through responses. Thank you very much for everyone for joining. As I said, open door policy. If you have any questions, just send me an email. Those of you who are going to be at Igloo, I'll be happy to meet you face to face. Have a great day, night, and hope to see you soon.
Thanks everyone for joining.